I'd like to call to order Open Space Land Acquisition Farmland Preservation Subcommittee for Tuesday, March 25th at 6 p.m. If we have people from the public, this portion of the meetings specifically set aside for comments from the public. We ask you to keep them to 2 minutes, please. Any interesting parties from the public here tonight? Okay. Just step up to the mic. Please let us know who you are. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Alicia Cornelia from the Rocky Hill Garden Club. Hi. We thank you for sending the materials. We looked it over, and everything looks really great. The only concern we have, and I just wanted to put it out there, is we are concerned about the lack of water. And I hope that that's something that you're working on to make available in future years, and hopefully when people sign up, you can let them know that it is going to be worked on, that it's not something you're just going to leave, because actually every other community garden has water in the area, and we would be the only one, and so I think it would be a real deciding factor for anyone wanting to sign up. So that's all I really wanted to bring up, is that's our only concern, and I do hope that's going to be rectified in the future.
Thank you.
Okay?
Anybody else from the public?
My name is Mary Beth Maluccio. I live at 4 Crowell Farm Road. And good evening to all of you. And thank you to Fran, your committee chair, for encouraging the public to participate and for entering this letter into the public record. Several residents who wished they could be here tonight are unable to attend due to the annual meeting of the Great Meadows Conservation Trust. We're all eager to contribute in multiple ways that will provide many public benefits. They include education. The first public benefit would be education activities with garden planning, permaculture, which is a way to farm naturally rather than using industrial ways, a concept of using land, resources, people, and the environment that don't produce waste. And they have some guiding ethics on that: the care of the earth, the care of people, and setting limits to population and consumption, which they also call fair share, meaning that we voluntarily limit our own consumption and reproduction so that we don't take more than our fair share of food and land resources. Even soil needs to rest and rejuvenate, as everyone probably already knows here, to support the healthy growth of plants. We can also help with water conservation practices, waste reduction, including composting, recycling, native plants to support the birds and the bees, and many other loving things that are needed to grow plants and replenish soil. We can help with pest control choices, the good and the bad, discussions on that, potting plants, and more. We are also, a second public benefit that we can assist with is hosting events like native plant swaps and farmers markets. A third way would be to provide services to the gardeners that come, such as providing seed, maybe tools, sharing of books, and managing compost piles. This would require some time spent on the site by volunteers, and I'm one of many in the group that we're forming together, the Friends of the Farm, who would be willing to be on site to help people, guide people. And we also thought we could create some demonstration plots, using plots to show growing methods which can be used to grow food and to contribute to our local food pantry on Old Main Street. Our participants are organizing a Friends of the Farm, if you haven't heard about it yet, group to help the town make this farm a success. We plan to attract more members as the farm gets ready. We've already created community building and beautification projects, including a cleanup day at Quarry Park, with members of the Rocky Hill High School football team and their coach, Richard Dance. We also helped the Rocky Hill High School Lend a Paw program by planting young trees, maintaining trails, and caring for the Great Meadows wood parcel, caring for the IFGP intergenerational food pantry garden behind the house on Old Main Street. We've created winter walks and educational forums for Great Meadows and participated in the cleaning up event called Source to Sea at the Weathersfield Cove. As resident members of an official farming community, we're eager to share our time, knowledge, and community organizing skills to support the farm, which we, the people of Rocky Hill, have paid for with our taxes, and who will benefit in so many ways from participating with all residents, young and old. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you on this committee, I hope, and to make wonderful things happen here in Rocky Hill. And I can give you a copy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I hope you stay around a little bit because you're on the agenda with Ed for Friends of the Farm.
Yeah, he said he might be running a little bit late, and he was going to speak as well.
We're gonna give you guys a little more time. This was just the 2 minutes to make some comments. Thank you all. Nothing electronically? Okay, I'll ask for approval of minutes, February 25th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, February 25th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Negative? Okay.
Should I move it?
You wanna move it?
I want to make a motion to move up the executive session at this point.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll take a brief time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
They have to.
I don't know.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I gotta leave.
We were changing it, so they know. Okay, we came out of executive session. Next agenda item is Friends of the Farms to introduce themselves, please, and
Oh, you should put a sweater on.
Hello, good evening at Chicarello, Riverview Road, great town of Rocky Hill. I am here tonight representing the Friends of the Farm. I am not its leader, I am one of its members. Mary Beth spoke before. We are but 2 out of 10 people that are currently interested in supporting the Rocky Hill Community Farm. Our lead organizer is Derek Kalin. Others that have met and are willing to meet to continue to support the farm are Tim Lewis, Alan Baglia, Melina Rudman, of course, Mary Beth, Carrie Wood, Kathy Beatty. There are a combination of educators, master gardeners, master composters in this group. I will tell you that I listened to your last meeting, and there was talk about a nonprofit organizing to support the farm. I'm only assuming that nonprofit that they were talking about was us. We are not a nonprofit, and at our last meeting, we decided that we are not going to attempt to organize a nonprofit at this point. We will remain a grassroots organization to the best of our ability, doing what we can to support the farm. To that end, we do have an April 9th meeting that was approved by Superintendent Zito with high school teachers Kim Antall and Matthew DeBacco, whom we are told are very excited about the educational opportunities at the farm. And we understand the barn is not ready. We're not ready to go in there tomorrow and host any educational programming. But I will tell you, as a former educator, I can tell you that planning takes time. Other opportunities also exist for the farm, historic, archaeological. These opportunities will be best served with a collaborative effort of the town and its residents, i.e. the community in the Rocky Hill Community Farm. So I do appreciate, and I want to commend our Chairman Whalen for encouraging and engaging the public in the planning of the farm, and I hope that the town staff will take his lead. I want to go over a couple of things, and if there's any questions, you can certainly ask. But I want to go over, you could see, can you see the? You could say, oh, okay, you see those in front of you. All right, so I watched the last meeting a couple of times that you had, and I'm concerned with the plan that is laid out. I wrote the town manager asking to meet with him and meet with staff prior to this meeting, because I really wanted to have a sort of a discussion as to the minutia of the plan. And I find it might be a little difficult here, but you know, let's try it and we can see what's happening. This is the plan that was put forth last time. I did not see you vote on it, so I'm assuming that it's still something to talk about. You included 98 beds, and I want to bring the Yukon study into this. How do we go? Can I go to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. This is the Yukon study, and in the study, they recommended 55 beds. So I think we may have too many beds. And I heard discussion about, well, let's just till it anyways. I'm not a farmer, I'm a gardener. But I know that if I till something and I leave open soil, all that's going to come is weeds. And then we're going to have erosion, mud. And so I would caution having so many beds. I think, you know, Yukon, the folks at UConn, you know, you have professional landscape designer in there, and so they suggested 55 beds. Now, look at the beds they suggested. They suggested 30 raised beds. Now, that's raised bed is like 30 square feet, so, you know, 3 foot by 10 foot, a raised bed. Most people want, that's what they want. And the second was a small bed, and they define a small bed as 20, or excuse me, as 10 by 10. That's a, you know, small bed. And then the largest one was, you know, 20 square feet, 10 by 20. So I would ask you, you know, to reconsider the 98. Could you go to the next slide, please? This is a draft that I made, and I sent to this. I thought we sent this to the commission. I haven't seen it out, and I haven't seen it discussed. But it is less than 55, but it is, you know, it includes some things that haven't been talked about yet. For instance, parking, and it includes traversing through the actual beds. So if I'm a gardener and I have a 10 foot by 10 foot, 100 square foot bed, I could plant 100 tomato plants, roughly, square foot gardening. Now, I got to drive someplace close to that plot because I'm not going to carry 100 plants. So I think one of the important things is to figure out the flow. And if you see this, I know there's a lot of arrows there, but it does make sense if you look at it. So I would ask that you have a conversation about the flow. Do you intend, and I don't know if you want to have a conversation back and forth now, Chairman, but do you intend on having cars being able to go to close to a plot? Steve is shaking his head no. Maybe that's a discussion you need to have. I'll just continue then?
Yes.
Okay. And we also included a couple of raised beds over by the barn, thinking that for educational purposes, wouldn't it be nice if students were meeting right at that barn to have some beds that were right there? The other thing that's included in that is a trail, but I know you're thinking about a trail down the road. But do you notice where the raised beds are? In the town's plan right now, could you go back to the town's plan, please? You have the raised beds at the base of a hill. Now, I could only assume by this plan that perhaps you're thinking of parking around that rotary there up on the top, the northern part. And again, I would ask, how do I bring all my plants down? And there's a hill. If I go in from New Road and I park on that road, and if I want to walk down, I got to walk down a pretty steep hill. I'm 69. I'm a pretty good walker. But I think we need to design this for people who are mobility challenged. I think you're talking about raised beds. I appreciate that. And if we can get some literally off of the ground, so we don't have to bend over. There's other types of raised beds where we put them on the ground. I know it's still called a raised bed, but I think that it would be a nice thing to have. So my concern again with those beds that are there is that they're at the base of the hill. People are going to probably walk down the hill, and I don't know where we park over here. Let me say a few other things. In response to, so this 10-foot area, I see it says 10-foot aisle. On this map, I'm not quite sure if that's meant for cars I heard there was talk about tilling everything, and I heard the chairman say, well, if we tilled everything, then it's all going to be a muddy mess. Just in a, I think that maybe if it's not grass, maybe it could be processed, and we could make that accessible for cars. One of the other concerns that I had when I listened was that there's no money for raised beds. I find that ridiculous. This is a right to farm town. We don't have $1,000 blanking dollars for raised beds. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? I heard talk about, well, let's get an Eagle Scout to do it. Let's get the high school to do it. Parks and Rec could do it in one day. You buy 3 pieces of wood, 2 by 12 by 10. You cut one in half. Well, maybe you buy 2 pieces of 10-foot length and 1 piece 8-foot length. You buy $25 of screws. Boom, boom, boom. You're not telling me Walt Sykes can't put one of those together in 15 minutes? Come on. We've owned this farm since 2019. And, you know, I was saying to somebody, maybe I'm not the right person to represent the Friends of the Farm because I'm a little irritated by what I saw here. I see 2 professional farmers that I would love to hear them talk more. I would love to hear you take the lead and dictate some of the things that are needed here. You know what we need. I just think staff needs to listen more and farmers need to talk more. I hate to be so brutal, but that's the honest to God's truth. That's probably about all I got to say. I probably get myself in more hot water if I keep talking. But if there's any questions for me, let's say one last thing. Where did our experts go? We had the Minucci's. We had the Yukon study. There was a woman just right here that I'm told that she was from the Rocky Hill Garden Club. I see 2 experts. So the Friends of the Farm, again, I don't want to be the face of the Friends of the Farm. I'm a member, and everybody else had to go somewhere else. So it's like it fell out to me, man. So my apologies. And, you know, we're here to support it, but we can't keep coming to you to say, hey, can we do this? Can we do it? Town's got to come to us sometimes, say, hey, let's sit at the table. Because we need to sit at a table. Doing this, I don't think we can get much accomplished. We need to sit around the table and just hash some things out. I don't know if there's any questions for me, Chairman, for you.
Open up to our
I'm going to
committee
sit.
for some questions for Friends of the Farm. Sabrina? Lisa?
Well, I will say this, and I'm probably going to jump the gun a little bit. I think we're putting the cart before the horse right now with how many plots we're actually going to need, because I think one of the intentions of tonight's meeting is to go over the application and get that approved so that we can get that out to the folks. I'd like to see from the community who's interested in what size bed, how many families want what they want before we finalize how many gardens, how many plots we're gonna end up with. Because I'm thinking the space is there, we might have to change it up a little bit according to the demand of the plots and who wants what. So this is, like you're saying, it's a preliminary study. This is our first attempt at doing something like this, so it's kind of like we're gonna struggle through this just like the rest of the community. But I would like to get these applications approved so that we can get a better detailed area of exactly what we need. So that in May, when everybody wants to have their plot and start planting, it's all going forward. So that's what I have to say.
We could help you with that too. I know Derek has offered to, you know, when you're ready to publicize something, if we have the regulations and whatnot, we're there for you, you know, if, to get the word out, get to, you know, go rent your place, you know, so.
Councilor Manuel?
Some really good points, Ed.
Thank you.
Steve, with regards to Ed's comments about parking, which is, in my opinion, certainly valid, if you have, you know, on a nice night like this or something, you have 20 cars there, did you count how many could park in the parking area, or like an auxiliary type of parking along New Road, or any what-ifs?
We have not looked at any kind of other parking. I mean, if we get all 98 sold, I don't think you can have 98 cars there at once. New road is probably not an option. Maybe it is, I don't know. You gotta go back and remember that this, you bring up the point of the Minutis, they've retired. They're gone. The UConn students are just that, they're students. They're not expert in this area, all right? We followed a general plan by the Minutis, hired a consultant. This is what was agreed upon by everybody. This was the parking area, so it's gonna be about 6 or 7 cars. We have one in my municipality that's probably close to half a mile long by probably 1,000 feet deep. They park on the side of the road and there's maybe 6 or 7 cars at a time on any given day or night. There is no water supplied. You can't drive out there. You have to take a little wagon and pull your stuff in a wagon. You know, so you could be walking half a mile to get to your plot.
Okay.
You know, there's a parking lot. It holds, you know, a few cars. So, I mean, you know, we're just basing everything we're doing on what other towns have, whether it be Newington, whether it be Weathersfield, whether it be Cromwell, Farmington, South Windsor. You know, so that's where much of this came from. So, and using the UConn study and using the Minuti study. And if you recall, this is a new location for where they were supposed to be. They were supposed to be further to the east, but it's all wetland.
Right, I just want to make sure that
So,
if the occasion comes up where there's 20 cars sitting there and 5 more trying to get in, I just want to make sure that you're thinking of a what-if.
well,
What if there's an overflow that's needed?
yeah, well, right, I mean, there's only so much area where we can go. You know, that whole area south of the barn is all fill, it's all contamination. We can't go messing around in there. So that's the other side of that road.
But that's been capped.
It's been capped, but we can't go placing and digging it up and placing soil and all that and aggravating it. It has to remain capped. You know, we're not gonna be going, placing anything on it.
They park in it?
No. It's not designed for parking. It's you know, it's the cap material.
There is a problem then with parking, I
Well,
agree.
Could be.
I mean, you may want to just make a note.
Yeah.
When next time you're out there, to find out how many cars can park there. And
Yeah.
report next to the next
Yeah,
meeting.
that parking spot up top holds about 10 cars,
Okay.
And we're gonna have 98 plots. That's a problem.
possible.
Yeah.
But like I said, my community, they have thousands of plots. Literally. There's probably literally 1,000
I
plots.
just don't want to come to the point where people are complaining that they
Yeah.
have no place to park.
Yeah.
I'd rather think of it ahead of time.
Understand.
Okay.
You know, as I said, we've looked at other communities and there's very minimal parking. So, you know, based on their experiences, is not a demand for as many cars at a time as there are plots.
But are they a right-to-farm community?
Weathersfield, I don't know if they're right to farm. They have 2 different locations.
Yeah.
Could you go to the, my design, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you got some great
see-
points.
You
Yeah.
see the parking over to the east, near the roundabout?
Yeah, that's where we have parking.
We have parking.
That's the parking area.
But he's talking about the left.
Oh, the roundabout?
Yeah, there's a space to
You
the
have
left.
something called round, I'm not sure what you have something roundabout, we can't be in there, that's all contaminated.
Yeah, you just said that.
Yeah, that's just, that's the area, we just put 2 feet to fill the cover, the contamination.
Steve, what's the width of the driveway, by the way?
22, I believe.
Can you have parallel parking on one side?
You might be able to do parking on one side, yes. And people would be able to get in and out. So,
Could you have parking spots around the current roundabout?
there's nothing laid out
No,
formal,
but
because it's
remember,
all
we went there,
stone.
we parked there, there was.
Yeah. Just said, it holds about 10 cars, so. And you do have great ideas here. I'm not, and this is a preliminary plan. We're not farmers, we're not experts. We're basing what we're doing on other towns' experiences.
Well, I think we heard Lisa just say, maybe we're putting the cart before the horse. We need to find out what is the interest and then
Yeah.
go. But, if you put 98,
Well, we're just,
if we till that whole
well,
area
no
with
one said we're gonna
98
till the whole
beds.
thing. Right now, we have a plan. We won't know until we get the application out. So we have to do that, and that's on the agenda tonight to review that.
So the 98 bed plan is not.
It might not all get tilled this year, no.
Okay, because I got an email from our town manager saying the plan has been determined. So when I read that, that means that 98 bed plan is set, but I'm hearing tonight that it's not.
Well,
No,
you even said it, Ed.
I'm sorry?
You even said it in your speech there that I didn't hear a vote or anything, so.
Yeah.
Well,
We really
it's-
haven't made anything.
No, we're just-
Maybe a miscommunication there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're working on the plan. We had a plan, we're reviewing it.
Do you have anything more, Ed, John?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
I mean, Ed, I agree. I think you brought some really good points to this. You got, the other side of the coin is this. We're in a rush to try to do it this spring. That puts us at a severe disadvantage in terms of planning. And part of, I think, the tilling of the whole field was that we didn't make anything permanent this year, something that we could potentially change next year after trial and error. So in talking to the 2 farmers, they did say it would make things a lot easier if we could do the whole area as a whole to till. And yes, I thought about the weeds too, and maybe process stone in between, like the 10-foot, grasses that we have there. But this is something that I don't think what we do this year is going to be our permanent plan. I don't see how it could be in time. It's almost April 1st, and I think the lady before, the water is a huge, I'm not a gardener, I'm not a farmer, but I do know I have to water plants, and if it's dry, that whole community garden could go for naught unless somebody carries, tanks of water. But yeah, I think there's some good points here, and unfortunately, we might be a little bit more backwards than we were forward, like what I thought we were. So I think 98's a lot too, to be honest. And I don't think we had that much interest from our preliminary numbers that we got, but we won't know until we put it out there. How many people are going to sign up and do it. If I heard there was no water, I might not do it, frankly. So I in a way, Lisa, you said, let's see what we get for interest. And again, tilling the whole thing this year doesn't mean it won't get reconfigured next year.
Can I interject?
Please.
One thing. One thing that I also was thinking about with these, the gardens, and knowing that there's arsenic, I don't think this year, this area should actually be tilled. I don't think we should be tilling up anything. I don't think we should be bringing up any rocks. I think we should take our town compost and lay up a foot as it's recommended.
Yeah.
And just make the garden plots. We don't have to worry about erosion. I'd like to see a lot of grass there. I'd like to see the Parks and Rec to maintain the grass area so that you have a less of an erosion problem over there. So I think overall, we're trying to plan this all out, but the details of things haven't been finalized, but I'm thinking going up a foot with the compost, and people will be able to plant right into that without worrying about potential hazards or stones or anything else at this point.
I think that's a marvelous idea.
So,
Chris, anything?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing to do is to go from 0 to 1, and that's what we're trying to do here. And we've got a starting point, and I do, applaud the job that town staff and the team working at had done to start the conversation. In reviewing the plans, I think having 20 by 20 foot square beds where they're flush against each other with no way to walk around them is probably not the right design. I think probably having some of those paths in between those beds if we get there. Maybe it just wasn't on the,
Yeah, they weren't. We had access to them.
they're on there. Because
Yeah.
they look like they're flush next to each other. Is
Well,
that-
they are, but you can go, one goes in this way, the other one goes in that way.
Can I get between, like this square is a 20-foot bed and that?
No.
How do I get between them?
Okay, so the back of the bed you
So
can't, right.
something's 20 feet away, I'm crawling in there,
Hey,
right?
could you go to the town's, thank you.
Maybe
This
if
is-
I could do our presentation would probably make more sense than to go back and forth right now. Yeah.
Well, but also, I guess if we're trying to focus on the application tonight, that's fine. But keeping in mind, having things like walking paths makes sense. People are going to be people, so if there's a part and if someone's got their car, their truck that has 20 plants and pots in it, they're probably going to try to pull their car up, and then maybe they'll park somewhere else. So if there are parts that we don't want them to park on for safety or for the arsenic, maybe we should try to get large rocks, kind of what we did at
Large rod.
large rocks, like what we have
Keep people out.
to keep people out.
We might have more of those boulders that are already there.
Yeah, like they had, it probably wouldn't be the same thing, but we created a pretty nice little parking area at Cirillo Park by moving those brownstones, like try getting past them. So something, if we've got big rocks lying around, that's a good way of showing out, where people shouldn't park, and I don't know, maybe they'll sit on them or something. And then I do think, if it's 50, if it's 98, we shouldn't really lock ourselves into any size. I think what we had wanted to do was start small and then expand. So even if we go with a smaller number, we shouldn't lock ourselves out of, if this is successful, hopefully giving us some growing space as well. Just, Ed, one question I had just for as a member of the Friends of the Farm group, was the intention that that the group would help with like the day-to-day running of the farm and working with to manage some of the things that we see in the application, assigning of plots and things like that, or is that going to be just run through the town and you guys will help guide or provide feedback based on your experience?
Well, as the town devises the processes, we'll fit in wherever we can. I heard Mary Beth say that, yeah, she'd like to be there. She'd like to be there on site for a certain period of time during the day. I personally don't want to, but we do have people that want to do that. And my understanding was that Parks and Rec was going to manage the, are they the actual leases?
Maintenance. Oh.
No, the leases, the actual.
Leases and the money and,
Yeah.
yes, the rules.
They're gonna
Correct.
collect the money?
Yeah,
Craig, it's not in his
last
head.
I know.
Craig is, yeah.
We're lucky we got Craig here tonight.
Yeah, that was it.
But Mary Beth, did you want to say something about
I
that?
was just going to say.
Yeah.
I know for me, and there are others in the group who are retired or available during the day, and we just thought our presence there as a docent, so to speak, I think I spoke to that with your organization, the Historical Society as well, to do some education. And even I figured that there might be people who want to have a plot there. But for me, I live near there, and I'm planting my own garden. But I like the idea of having a place where some members of town might want to do their own thing in their backyard, but they would have this community farm to go and see what some people do, or even to have specific, things that we do to show other people what is possible for them, and to assist them in their own private backyard. So that's why I think the use of the barn without water or without electricity could still be used. I think people are curious about getting onto the property. And I live on Kroll Farm Road, so I go down New Road all the time, and I see all the stuff that's happening there, and I would love to be able to pull in there and check it out, and neighbors would too. It's just, it's something that we're proud of the idea, and that we're available to help out, if you take it 1 year at a time, even if you had no plots there, or maybe 10 people, it's still the start of something. I see it that way, and I would be available to help. And I think the Friends of the Farm could put the schedule together so that the volunteers can do it when they can do it. And then it's something like what we get at the community center and the senior center, that they have people who teach yoga or who do arts and crafts. It's when those people can do it. It's not the long-term range maybe, but I don't even know that we care if it's 1 year is good. This year would be great.
I think your experience and knowledge and presence there would be a big help, because they're going to be people they'll have questions.
Yeah, and they'll have ideas maybe
Right.
that we haven't thought of. Like some of the ideas that we've had in our Friends of the Farm group was to supply, say, wheelbarrows and rakes and different things that instead of having to schlep it back and forth all the time, we could, if we were there, we'll say, okay, give me your name and address, and you can take it, and we'll be here. When you're done, bring it back, stuff like that. It's just neighborly things to do,
Yeah.
and to get to know your neighbors.
Yeah, I think there's a gap between the overhead that the town will manage in setting up that structure and what Parks and Rec might assist with, and the people who are farming there or running their gardens, and having a group such as yours help fill that gap will be helpful, because there are limits to what we think we can expect of the Parks and Rec to be doing. And there are people there who are more familiar with that because they're spending more time there, who can help bring new people on board. I think that seems like a pretty useful way of having the community fill that space.
Yeah, even getting people's kids involved, because I know when my kids were little, we had a garden, and it started in school where the teachers were talking about growing things, and the last day of school they would provide each kindergartner with a sunflower. And of course, you had to plant it and watch it grow, and it got taller than they were. And then we started a garden. I mean, there's a lot of families in town that could enjoy that too. So anyway, but yeah, we're all in if you want us to be.
I think you guys are great. I value, citizens in our town coming together and willing to step up and help other people in this community garden effort.
Can I say one quick thing? Because I want you to have the final word. I do think the other idea of this, and again, we're in the initial stages here, but I've seen in other towns and whatever that local businesses contribute. You talk about the town not putting $1,000 out or whatever, but I do believe a local business would be all over sponsoring raised garden beds, wagons to bring to your lots, whatever it is. I mean, that is something that, like, I was president of Little League. That concession stand was done by all local people helping. That is not far-fetched at all, and it's a lot lower budget than other projects have faced. So, I mean, that's something we have to, that's a grassroots thing, do you go to Cedar Mountain? Do you go to, Sunny Farms,
Sunny Farms, right.
Honestly, these are places that I think would step up and do something with a little recognition, of course. But, I envision that somewhere down the road, I mean, maybe even it's now. Maybe we have to develop something to kick that in gear.
I love the idea of having, maybe putting together a budget or a wish list, however you want, of things that are outside of the scope of what the town is doing, things that are really for the day-to-day operations of the farm. Maybe it's plants, I don't know. But you come up with whatever that amount is. Maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $500. And then local businesses, you have a little board, you have different sponsors. Are you a gold level because you donated $500? Are you a bronze? Maybe just a family member. I love gardening, don't have time to get down there.
There might
I'm going to be a silver sponsor. And then you put the little board there and put some plastic over it so people don't vandalize, and then you can raise funds that way. And I think a pretty realistic way to raise, not a ton of money, but not really something that's going to come out of the town's budget.
Actually, yeah, and I just want to add to that, and Dave, I really think that's a great point. I'm just thinking, Craig and his team have a lot of experience with sponsorships and the sports teams and everything like that. If we threw out the idea of, the smaller rows, to Chris's point, that, the smaller rows could be, a bronze sponsorship, but the larger rows with the larger plots could be gold or platinum sponsorships with the business at the beginning of the row.
Yeah.
So people see that, and they pay $1,000 a season or something like that. And if Parks and Rec manages that money and pays for the beds or whatever, at least that'll have an income and expense type of structure. And promoting local businesses.
These are great ideas, and it's really heartening to hear you talk about it. I will say, lastly, that Derek Kalin is our lead person here. So call him, email him, and he will disseminate that to the Friends of the Farm group, and we will work on whatever it is that you need. We're there. Okay? But we need to hear from you, and we'll get this done. We'll get it done, right?
I think as well, there needs to be a little more cooperation with the town. We need to sit down with your group. If Steve, Ray, whoever, I could join in, hear some of your ideas of what you want to do down there, and we could give you guys ideas where the town wants maybe you guys to focus on. So I do agree there maybe needs to have a sit-down meeting with a few of your members, and we could work things out. I do like your plan that you developed. I like the flow of traffic. I think people are going to need to drop off their tools, pick their baskets of tomatoes up instead of trying to carry them all the way out. You did bring up a good point with those raised beds in that location. There is a steep hill there. A lot of people with the raised beds are going to be people that may be physically disabled a little bit. So maybe they need to be a little closer to the roadway. But these are things that we have to work with and we'll be developing along the way. I do agree with Ms. Gilbert. We shouldn't be plowing up this or preparing this whole area for 98 plots because the weeds will grow. And if we're not going to use them, we should be just doing the plots that we're going to be accounted for. People are going to fill out applications and we'll go from there. But you guys are very valuable to us, and I thank you, and you're going to be down there probably more often than Park and Rec or anybody else, hopefully, and keep an eye on things and answer questions and guide people along. So thank you, and please continue communicating with us, and we'll try to get you involved as much as possible.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, guys. All right, we'll have discussion, community gardens, Rocky Hill Farm, community gardens.
All right, so for the progress,
Thanks.
it was asked to have some trees removed. The site's been basically cleared. I don't know if anybody's been out there recently, but the site's been totally cleared except for one tree. Silt fence has been put in by the stream. A row of wood chips has gone in front of that for erosion purposes. Soil samples have been taken from our topsoil pile and compost pile. It's been blended together. It's at the lab, Phoenix Labs in Manchester. We're awaiting results on that. We have a draft agreement which has been forwarded to you. Please note it has, it needs to be finalized and reviewed probably by the town attorney because there's a lot of legal stuff in there. Again, this is all drawn on from other towns and what they do. We did agree on pricing. And raised beds are ridiculously expensive. It's not as simple as knocking a couple boards together. They're usually raised like 36 inches so people with a disability can get in. They should be made out of cedar or composite because it can't be pressure treated. Regular wood's going to rot in a year or two. So we're looking at roughly $300 a bed, for just the lumber, cedar lumber. And that's shrinking them to 2 foot by 8 foot. So they're very expensive. You can do the metal. You can get them at like, any of your home improvement stores or the tractor store for around $50, and they're roughly 2 by 8 round. But you're down at ground level with that. It's raised, but it's raised a foot. Basic overview of what we have here that we submitted to you guys. Our understanding of community garden, we're providing the land for somebody to lease, and the person who's leasing it is going to be planting and taking care of their plot, and it's their responsibility to maintain their plot. The garden, the leasee will supply the seed, the tools, the water, the maintenance, and the town will be taking care of, beginning of the year, end of year kind of thing. It's carry in, carry out, just like hiking. You're gonna go in, you're gonna do your thing, you're gonna leave. You're not gonna leave trash behind you, take it out. A couple of issues we have right now on this testing, the cost of the raised bed. We did talk about leaving a grass strip in between. Craig's well aware of that. We showed a 10-foot strip in between. It will help with erosion and help for people to walk. We envision people not driving in, because that's just going to make a mess eventually. But you go walking in with a cart, with a wagon. That's what people do. They have a little wagon, drag behind them, bring their supplies in, do their thing, take their vegetables, take the wagon out. That's the way we found it some other places. And then regarding the size of the plots, just going around here, South Windsor's are 10 by 20. Weathersfield's and Newington's are 20 by 30. And Farmington's 25 by 25 or 50 by 50. So I don't think we're far, we're showing some 10 by 10, some 10 by 20, some 20 by 20. So we're actually, on average, probably a little smaller than, what they're showing. Raised beds by the farm are a great idea. Using the farm right now, I don't know if that's possible because it doesn't have a certificate of occupancy. They call our department the no fun people because, we have code enforcement. Building official will not grant occupancy, certificate of occupancy until it has the water and sewer. So I don't know if we'll be able to open up and use it because now it's a place of gathering and it's not permitted. So it's not finalized. So that's something we'd have to work out. Closest sewer is France Street. So yeah, gravity, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars to get down there. Water, there's water in the road, but again, MDC assesses by your frontage. So I don't know if they consider it both corners, Britton Ave and New Road, or just say New Road. So I don't know what we get whacked. There are wells, they have not been tested. So I'm not sure, that's something we have to look for in the future. And then back to the plant, and let me just show you something here. I gave you guys all the, Dave's sketch for the farms. You guys got the schedule, and I gave you a sample raised planting bed and some price of materials. I have for you now, first of all, rough costs. Pass them down there, Chris. So we talked about setting the prices at $35 for the raised bed, $25 for the 10 by 10, 35 for 10 by 20, and 50 for the 20 by 20. If they all lease this year, we're going to take in just shy of $4,000. To build the raised cedar beds, it's $3,000. And I have a second option that I found. And it, again, take one and pass it down. They call it, they use buckets. And you could use pressure-treated lumber here, and it'd be about $125 for one of these. And there's also an article from Iowa State University in there regarding gardening in buckets. So you can take a look at that. Container gardening, I guess they call it. So that's an option. We could get raised beds quicker that way. I don't know if this is the option you want to do. And then we have the agreement we can go through when you guys get, look at that.
The first step is giving approval to the agreement to move forward. That's what we're looking to get done
Yeah.
tonight.
So we could do that. So this agreement was drafted by Dave on our staff, and he based it on the towns I just mentioned and what they do. So there's an agreement between the gardener and the town. There's a liability release, and then there's the rules on the back, which are pretty standard. And unfortunately, right now, we don't have the water access, so you're gonna have to bring your own. I don't know if it's something that, I think we have a water buffalo, but I don't know if it's wise to leave it out in the sun every day, all day, you know, for people to take water.
Well, I was gonna ask that question too. I mean, is it possible to have like a 500-gallon tank near the barn? That's
Yeah.
there's a pipe coming down from the hydrant that fills it, or rain going into the tank with a small pipe going down with a faucet to the garden bed.
Yeah, that's something we'd have to really investigate. You know, obviously it's non-potable water, so that's okay. One of the things I've seen, but it's prohibited in this language here, is I've seen 55-gallon buckets people leave on their plot so they can gather water. But then you have the issue of, you know, stagnant water and mosquitoes and all that.
And other people taking it.
Other people could take them. And that's gonna be your problem with everything. I mean, people, I think somebody asked about, you know, theft of vegetables. It's the honor system. You know, and if they're caught, you know, part of your agreement is you're terminated or suspended.
All right, why don't we start looking at the agreement?
So,
Does anybody have any comments on that, so we could try to move forward with approving it or making some additions?
Fran, would we have a separate agreement for people that are just coming to, like, they talked about people coming just to tour or to, like, schools and what have you? Would we have a waiver of some sort that would include the same language that we have in this contract for the farmers, the 2.2 and the 2.3 waivers and releases?
well, I don't think the school, if you're having school children up there, they're gonna be in people's plots. This is
Right.
really for you know, people are leasing that land. You're not
Right.
gonna take the school children down there. They're gonna be up by the barn. That's down the road, because as I said, that's
We're not
not,
ready for
we
that
can't
part.
occupy it yet.
Okay, but down the
Until
road.
we figure out water and sewer.
This
Down the
is-
road, that would be
Yeah, a good idea.
possibly, yeah. That would be with the school, I think.
This agreement is if somebody's gonna rent a plot
Yes.
Okay.
at this point. Hopefully we all got to look it over prior to today. Chris, you got any comments about it?
Yeah, I don't really have any substantial comment. The only thing I would suggest is if, and maybe this is something run by a lawyer, is if, when we talk about our rules, if there was a way just to reference back to our overall Parks and Rec policy, that way we don't have to maintain like codes of conduct in multiple places. You know, if there was a way to just make reference to, you know, as defined as the regular Rocky Hill Park rules, that just might make it easier as we move forward. But other than that, I mean.
I understand what you're saying, but people aren't gonna go look at it, you know? I find that, like, when we do all our plans, we try to refer to it, and people are like, well, I didn't see it. So,
Or you could, I mean, this may mention it to legal, they could perhaps put in
Yeah.
a thing, whichever one is more current is the
Yeah.
one that we would go with.
yeah, as I said, this needs to be reviewed by our town
Right,
attorney.
that was it. I
Yeah.
think it's
So.
fine otherwise.
Thank you. Councilor Manning?
Steve, under 2.5 publicity,
Yep,
just a slight correction on the third line there. May create in connection with your or your guests. Should be
May
with
create-
you or your guests.
yep.
Just something minor. But, yeah, no, I
Wow, we're engineers.
I looked through this and I didn't see any issues. I think it was well done.
Ms. Gilbert?
I approve.
I think it's a good contract. I do like the release part, the waiver part, because it's something that I do all the time, and that's important. But yeah, I think it's well-written.
Something I think that's missing is that this is only for Rock Hill residents. Should be in there somewhere
Yes, we did say that, so yeah.
in the agreement. And maybe first come, first serve for your plot.
Yep, yeah, we talked about that, so that would probably be in the advertisement that it's Rocky Hill, but we could put it in the agreement.
At least get the residency in there. And I think at the top of it, I thought through the town manager, we were saying Park and Rec was gonna be the one handling the money and the rules end of it. Should we put Park and Recreation Department on top of this form?
Greg? You want your logo on there? We could put it on your letterhead.
Then people are gonna know where they're gonna have to go
Yeah.
to get this taken care of. Those are a couple things I had.
All right,
So.
that's easy. And the only thing I saw too is something in here, if you guys look at garden rules, and it's the second sentence, these rules are intended to help our gardeners grow fresh, healthy food in a thriving garden. I thought maybe we just throw organic to reinforce that, no pesticides, no herbicides. It's down below and what's prohibited, but just, you know, again, organic, might want to throw that word in.
I think, again, this should be Park and Rec Department across the top.
Yep,
And you have a lot of blanks throughout this. I think it should all be Park and Rec is the one monitoring this. If
yep.
there's a problem.
That's probably why I left blank, because, you know, it just, we need to make sure that it was gonna be Park and Rec,
What
so.
the town manager, I thought,
Yeah.
was indicating, but it is up to you guys. Just another thing I noticed on the back, the plot of, probably page 2, plot maintenance and trash. The first paragraph, the last sentence, all residue of tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, eggplant must be in the trash. I thought maybe it should be all plant residue such as those, and how about putting a compost area instead of the trash?
Yeah, we haven't identified a compost area originally. I was told we weren't doing that, compost.
Not gonna do a
Oh,
compost area?
I have a question too.
Sure,
It comes down to the maintenance of it right now.
okay.
Something,
Gotta keep it
something that
turned,
just
watered.
ding dinged on me. Are we going to have a bathroom porta potty put on the
Yeah,
premises?
we're talking about renting one for the season,
For
yeah.
when the community gardens get going?
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Steve, for the compost pile, there's, you know, how you make really good compost by turning it, watering it, and all that. But then it could also just be where people throw their discarded vegetable matter at the end of the season, you know, your old dead tomato stalks. I mean, should that have its own place that we would refer to? I mean, it can still be a compost pile, it's just not as, you know, the master gardeners might do it.
Right. I was thinking something like that. Just what you
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a gardener, so I defer to you folks on what you do there. I mean, I think we're gonna have to do something. I was told we didn't wanna maintain a compost pile at this time. But, we gotta do something with all that. I mean, in the agreement, it says you're supposed to remove that and take it with you at the end of the year.
No one's doing that, though. Like, if I have a squash plant, that's got a.
A
that's
vine
got a
that runs
vine
until
that's-
forever, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in my
can't.
car and throw it out somewhere. People just aren't gonna do that.
No, we
You
gotta
don't
have
throw
a
it in the
place somewhere, I think, designated to put that material. Yeah,
So
probably
we
the
need,
best
we need to
way.
come up with that. I mean, he did show a composting area, but I was told that we didn't wanna do that at this time, so.
I mean, we could just leave it, say designated place, and we figure that out later.
And just remove it at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Just the
that's a
one
good
thing at the
idea.
end of the year, put your dead plants here,
Right,
but,
and I mean, if you take it down to town yard or something, then
like,
put it with
right,
the regular compost.
right now, if you're doing trimmings or any of that, take it with you, cause it shouldn't be much, I would think. I don't know, I'm not a gardener.
The only other thing I thought, also, something similar that Chris was pointing out, we have, under D, the problems, then you have the gardener may lose the right to all the different areas. The last one, set a fire for any purpose. I thought maybe adding under that and/or any violation of the park and rec rules,
Okay.
maybe put it in there. Because I think, like Mr. Duff's pointing out, that we're kind of following park and recs guidelines here. Those are the only couple things I saw. Anybody else have anything for rules?
The poisonous and legal plants, could we have like maybe a list that they could refer to? in
Of what?
regards to that, of the poisonous plants?
Poisonous and illegal plants, what's prohibited on the first page? of the
Yeah, we have
rules.
plants considered illegal under state law, and that included marijuana, even though it is legal. Poisonous,
It's, what's prohibited, it's on page 1 of the rule, garden rules.
yeah.
It
that's
says
gonna be a pretty-
poisonous or illegal plants.
That's gonna be a pretty long list, I would think.
Goes as defined as wherever the
Yeah,
list is,
as defined as,
or you can get it from town hall, or,
because that's gonna be a long list, because, you know, you could have invasive species somebody
Right.
wants to plant. That could be a long list.
there is another item that I'm scanning it, I don't see it, and it should go without saying, but in terms of if we don't have a reference to trespassing and not going past the gate into the farmers, you know, not going out of designated, not going into the, staying within the designated areas, if you don't, you should lose your plot. You know, like if you're gonna be, you can't just go wandering through the, past the gate and into the other commercially farmed lots.
Oh, gotcha, going to the commercial side, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how we would define that.
Just, you
but-
know, you gotta remain within the community garden area, do not cross just do not cross the stream.
That's a good idea.
Because I'll shoot. It's important right there.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to define it.
Perfect.
And then back to your question about the stones around the, if you notice, they're around the circle now.
Correct.
So, and that's the same ones that were used at Cirillo Park, and I think we still have some left. That's something that I think Park and Rec obtained years ago when they were tearing some building down or something. So we had a pile of them. We've used them quite a few places. Not sure we got left, but if we have them.
Did some come from Mosher? Mosher School?
No, they got them from like Meriden or somewhere.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So, they're nice brownstones.
Anything else on rules or even the agreement?
So we can make those adjustments and send it back out to you guys, put it on the parks,
Okay.
form, use their logos and stuff, fill in all the blanks.
How do you want to handle that? I mean, because we want to get this
Yeah, they,
stuff out to the public soon.
it's a day for, you know, depending on the schedule, tomorrow, next day will be done by, probably by the end of the week.
But I mean, how, you're going to give it to us, though? We're going to just
I can give it to you to
individually
review.
look at it? Or,
I don't know what you wanna do.
Because next April, our meeting,
Yeah, it's a little,
it's going to be too late.
yeah, it's gonna be late, so,
Well,
I
can
don't know
you-
if you wanna do a special meeting.
Could you vote to approve with the changes?
Yeah, we could do that.
Because I don't think there's any.
Changes that you wrote down.
Yeah. And we'll just implement them.
And then we'll just move forward with advertising at that point, as soon as you
Yeah.
get it done.
And then,
April
yeah.
1st or something of that
Because
nature.
I know calls have been coming in, a lot of inquiries, so, I don't know how many, but I know there's inquiries out there,
That's good.
so.
So we could,
What we could do is,
First, if we want to do it correctly, we have to amend number 5 to say discussion/action item.
okay, it's true.
So I'll make a motion to amend the agenda item number 5, discussion, community gardens, to discussion/action, community gardens.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay.
I will make a motion to accept the Rocky Hill Community Garden rules, pending updates from Steve.
can I run through those just so we make sure we get them all, and I'm.
Sure.
All right, so, we wanna add first come, first serve. We wanna add a residency requirement. We want to add Park and Rec logos and
Language.
in their name in the blanks. I'm looking here. Okay, under community garden rules, what is prohibited? We wanted to have poisonous or illegal plants as defined by, we want to define those somehow. We have, under plot maintenance and trash, all residue, including but not limited to tomatoes, potatoes, I think we said.
The composting area.
It's a composting area. We want to add under conduct, something about do not cross the stream into the commercial farming. And under problems, letter D, problems and/or violation, any violations of park and rec rules.
Sounds good.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items.
You got 'em. See anything else?
And correct the one typo.
Sure.
No,
We didn't do this one yet.
On
yeah.
that last part about the no
John, you made a motion,
sales,
but do you refer to Steve's? Like, should we just say town, or should it just say town staff, so it include legal as well?
yeah.
Yeah. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So we'll get them out, get it done.
Yep. That'll be in another day or two. We'll have it done, changed. You can review it, make sure we don't have typos or whatever.
Thanks.
And then we'll get it to the town attorney.
Fantastic.
When-
Try to get them out April 1st or so if possible to the public, to get them,
Yeah, it should be
Get some
done this week.
ideas.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
so.
Good. Anything else on community gardens?
everything.
We just talked about the bucket gardening versus the raised beds and funding for the raised beds or the steel things. And, if we want to even try that this year, as I said, there's limited amount of money that was in the capital improvement budget for the community garden, of which we need most of it to complete the payments and the testing still required out there, the continual testing.
Is the testing the first domino in terms of when people can safely be out there and
Well,
planting?
so the testing is after a year after completion, they have to test quarterly to make sure it's working. There's no more contaminants. And if it comes back in any of those that there is, then we're back to the drawing board on more remediation out there. This is mostly up north of the road at the barn. Where the house used to be and adjacent to the barn. It's not in where we're gonna be.
So is there anything that would prevent that part of the community garden plan moving forward, or does that testing apply to the whole site?
That testing applies to the area where they did the remediation up. We filled the arsenic, but it's the up top part. And then we still have holding retainage on the contractor for 1 year. So that year's coming up in April. So that's where the majority of that funding in the capital that was allotted to this is going right now. We have to finish paying those bills. So hence why I'm not sure if we're gonna get to raise beds this year or not.
Right.
Well, and when would we need to, I know we talked about putting the application out. We should probably talk about what that application window looks like. When does it close? Or maybe it's first come, first serve until we
Well,
run
it's gonna be
out.
first come, first serve, and then they sell out, then you're closed.
But in terms of do we have a season? I mean, the back of the envelope is usually, you don't want to plant outside until after Mother's Day, depending on what you're
Well,
doing.
I think Dave's got it in there. He had the season that we're open.
May 15th
Yeah.
to October 31st, when you could use the plots.
You can use them as you see fit to plant.
So how much time do we think we would need to make a decision? I mean, I do like the idea of trying to get sponsorships if we're looking at $3,000, you probably get that from the community, I would think.
Yeah, and
Do
then
we
we're-
have to when would we have to make a decision?
Well, for putting out April 1, I mean, right now I'd put in, I would probably have for the raised bed, maybe not this year or something, just not even have it have it stricken through, as we don't have them at this time, pending.
Yeah. Or the Friends of the Farm, if we meet with them at some point, they could raise some funds or
Yeah,
try to
but you
find
hate to sell all
something.
10 that we have, and all of a sudden we don't have them.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put some stipulation
Yeah.
on them if we have them or
And
not.
so we could put it in there, say pending
Right,
construction, and,
building of them or something.
yeah,
Yeah, those,
yeah, we're gonna have to have that in there.
And Warrior Project.
The building part is not the difficult part, it's obtaining the materials with no money.
Right around the barn area,
Yeah.
around the
Well, it was
turnaround.
$3,000
We did
total
that
for
at,
all of the beds?
Well, if it's $300 a piece minimum,
Right.
minimum, I'm just going off prices I'm grabbing
that-
offline. That didn't include any kind of,
But that's a
hardware.
conceivable amount of money that we could,
Yeah.
an interested
Really?
community group could
They
raise.
don't
Yes.
fund it, like,
Uh, Again, they'd be cedar.
you gave us a timetable of preparing some of this with
Yep.
soils and whatnot.
Yep. As I said, the soil's being tested right now. We're expecting the results any day. I don't know how long it takes, but
I think coming from a farming background like Ms. Gilbert, I don't want to suggest dumping all this material down there if we're not going to use the plots. You know what I mean? If you're going to start dumping material, and grading it for 98 plots, and we don't use all those, that is going to be a weed infested area that's going to grow. I'd suggest as
yes.
we kind of know the number of plots we need, let's prepare it then.
Right, but you also gotta remember, it's gonna be lead time for our guys. Our trucks aren't that big, so they can only take so much at a time. It's gonna be probably weeks worth of work for them to load, mix it, load, bring it down.
So if we put closing May 1st on the applications, we haven't really until the 15th before people can use the garden plots. Do you
But do
think
we want,
that's a
I don't know,
close
do
enough
you
time?
wanna limit them though? I mean, what happens if somebody decides June 1 that they really want one? You don't wanna limit it, Craig?
You
Thoughts?
could build in, I mean, I think it depends on the response, but then you can do the response and, if we get 10 people respond, you do 20. I mean,
Is there a deadline? I'll look and see what other communities did.
I think the most of them had a
Open
deadline.
enrollment.
My concern is if you're gonna prepare 98 plots.
Yep.
And we don't use 98 plots. Now, who's gonna maintain all that weeds and?
Yeah, I mean, worst comes to worst, what we do is like any construction site, it's temporary stockpile, and then you put silt fence around it, and you can cover it with filter fabric or something of the sort to maintain it for now, but at minimum, put the silt fence around it, and then the following year, yeah, I have weeds, but the following year, just rake, plow it out, and we're good to go. It's there.
I thought you were gonna put this material down where these plots were gonna be.
We're gonna put it down,
and
but
spread-
if we're only gonna spread, say, half, we can still have a stockpile of it.
Correct.
For the future, and it's already there.
I could see that point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't wanna see all 98 spread.
Yeah, I understand what
and-
you're saying.
Yeah,
Flatten out. No,
correct.
We put it kind of in where it needs to go, but not spread it, if we don't, if
That works.
those aren't gonna be sold. Yeah.
Ms. Gilbert had an idea of putting that Lee mulch material up. How much of that do you have, or how of depth can you put above the
So-
soil that's there?
I'd have to measure the pile, I didn't, really, there's one good pile down there. The second one is close, but probably needs another turn or two. And then we also have topsoil that we're mixing it with.
Nice.
So it's a good size
Good.
topsoil pile, so it should be, we should probably be able to get a foot. I can't guarantee that till we measure
That'd be
it,
great.
so.
Yeah. I think, as the farmers and the town staff, maybe we could meet once we know the numbers, we need to know the numbers of applicants that want them, the sites. Because I know we were gonna help prepare some of this area. And if we can get a foot of material, that's good material to grow on, we may not have to plow it.
Have to plow
or-
anything, yeah,
or
just spread
prepare
it.
this year.
Yeah.
And maybe next year we'll have to do something differently.
So I think the next thing we're probably gonna do is, once we agree on a layout, put on some stakes, four corners kind of thing, so you can see what it looks like, where we're going. And to Mr. Duff's question, you know, yes, you have 20 by 20 and they back up to each other, but you can still access it from the 10-foot aisle. You just gotta walk in.
I'm
You're walking across.
walking into the plot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
Walking
play.
into somebody else's.
No. Yeah, you're gonna have yours. I mean, what they do a lot of times is you'll see people, they put stakes with string, and it kind of defines their lot, and then you'll have aisles. You're not gonna plant everything together. So you're gonna have rows, and you walk between them.
People will be neighborly, hopefully. We'll work it all out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if somebody at the podium.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sir.
No, I just want to just put it out there that, you know, as much as, you know, we like to call Walt MacGyver and he can solve many, many problems, you know, our hair's on fire in the spring doing a lot of other things. And when it gets into May, you know, we're trying to figure out when we're putting docks in the river. We got a lot of things happening at once. So my ask of the committee would be that if we set a date, we stick to it. And we need time to even try and figure out when we can get boots on the ground there. And the other thing we're not even taking into consideration in the spring is the weather.
Right.
The weather, hopefully by the time it gets into May, it turns. But the weather issues that we have in the spring typically really back our department up as it is. So I just want to put that out on record. Our guys do great work and we can do a lot of stuff, but we need time. So my initial fear right now is that it's almost April 1st and we're saying that we want people to be able to farm come May 15th. And to me, just as a logistics person and planning, and that's not a lot of time. We're really right up against the gun here. So if we're gonna set a deadline of, I would even, if we can push out the material by next week and really sell it hard, instead of setting a date of May 1st as your deadline, maybe you put it out 3 weeks and see where we're at come April 21st. You know, we've got the marketing measures in place with our department that we can push it out to our MyRec database. We can push it out through our Facebook. We can share it through the town. We can use our website. There's a lot of ways to get the word out there to at least get the interest going to see who wants what. And my only other suggestion I was going to say while I was taking notes back there is 98 feels like a lot for the first year. The stockpiling, I think, makes really good sense. I just don't want us to be in a position where we're kind of cookie cuttering the thing together, because we had 4 people that wanted this size, but we had 25 that wanted this size, and now there's really no flow or no rhyme or reason to it. So those are just my observations and thoughts. I'd be happy to talk about this offline or meet again offline, but I think if we're gonna meet offline, like, I need Walt there. We need other people there. We'd love to have you guys there, especially if you guys are gonna be helping out with the soil and stuff. So the sooner we do that, the better off we are. But in terms of managing the management of this is the easy part. We've got the software in place to do all that. we can put the agreement together. Like that's the easy stuff. It's more the other logistics of it. So I'm not taking any questions, by the way.
Well, I have one.
Thanks for your
No, go ahead.
comments.
Would it make sense if you, me, Fran, and Lisa meet out there? That way it's not a meeting.
Yes. Yes.
I think we should pull the Friends of the Farm in too, maybe, you know?
Yes.
They're maybe a resource to help with too.
Yeah, I don't think the next meeting can take place at a table. I think it needs
No,
to
we gotta
take
be out there.
place on site, boots on the ground, like, here's what we're working with. Here are our measurements.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I know you don't want questions. So my whole thing is like finding out how many people are interested in the plots before you guys go crazy with, oh, well, we only have 2 10x10s and the rest of them, everybody wants a raised bed and now we've got some issues we got to iron out real quick. So do we want to push this, sign up for your garden plots, fast, hard, and furious, April 1st until like Easter, which is April 20th, and then shut it down? Or do you want to say, oh, we only have 50 applicants in that 3-week time, we got to run it till May 1st so that maybe we can get another 50 more applicants by then? So then, do you want to meet with us, maybe out at the farm, and then decide before our next meeting here where we're sitting down and kind of saying, we've got all 98 plots sold. So this is what we're going to do moving forward.
I would,
Do we wanna
I would
have a
like, I
special-
would like to go fast and furious and push out the information.
Yeah.
Let's push
I
it
agree.
out there and see how many, because we're getting, we've gotten a lot of feedback and that's great and all, but like when it's time to sign on the dotted line, like who's actually going to do it? So if we push it out and push it and push it, I'm thinking probably, and what typically happens when you do these types of things, you get that initial groundswell, boom, they hit you, and then it goes silent. And then you do like one more push, and then you can see who else comes with it, and then that's usually kind of where you're going to end up. So I think 3 weeks is definitely enough time to figure that out. I think we're going to have a really good idea. And let's say there's 50 people. Well, then we build it an additional X amount per size, and then we cap it, and then next year.
Right.
Better luck next year. Let's see how it works out.
Yep.
And, we're not biting off more than we can chew at that point, but we're not putting some undue burden on our department either, or, on all of our departments.
Correct.
That's just my advice. That's what I would do. But I think we need to meet there
Okay.
ASAP.
I agree with what you're saying. Let's have a big push on it, and we'll have a cutoff date. That's it. You're in or you're out, and we know the number.
Yep.
It's a good way. And next year, people might grow. People may miss out, but they'll look forward to next year. Thank you. That's why we have Park and Rec here tonight. They're experienced with this. Thank you. And that could change our whole diagram of the site.
Yeah.
Let's see
Yeah.
what we got.
Oh, absolutely. Might eliminate one size totally.
It could.
Steve, we're going to get you a headlamp. I think you're going to be building a lot of beds.
Fine. Oh, raised beds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do raised beds.
I mean, if we get the material, and this is, I don't know, this is probably a question that we need to get the legal and people involved with, but, and I don't want to undersell the craftsmanship involved, but you could teach people how to screw together, I'm not saying we're going to go with this thing, but like, if you got a handful of volunteers, I could bring my screwdriver down there. I mean, I think this is a very attainable thing to do and take some of the pressure off. As long as we had the materials, you could put a work crew together. I think you could probably crowdsource a handful of people from the town to just, get it done in an afternoon.
That's why we're going to the schools, because these seniors need community service hours. The problem is we don't have the materials, because we could easily go talk to them and say, hey, but we don't have the materials.
These seniors aren't done by now, they got issues.
Well, this year, yes, they have issues, but
Well, you got plenty of
But
sophomores.
I also
freshmen
wonder, is it something where,
get theirs.
at a council meeting, perhaps, if we could put the call out saying, we're looking to raise X amount of dollars or find someone to donate. I mean, $3,000 is not a ton of money. It probably shouldn't come out of the operating budget. There's not already a line item there, but that seems like something where maybe we could see if we could raise it. And maybe they're not in there for May 15, but you could have them in for later season
Right.
crop. I mean, I think it seems doable to me. Now, maybe it's hard to get the materials because of who knows what else is going on in the world, and the ship is
Yeah,
stuck sideways
yeah,
in the
yeah.
Suez, it has all the cedar on it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if we can get the material, I think we could probably find a way to pay for it.
Okay, anybody else have anything on community gardens tonight? Okay, moving on. Any other business that we have to discuss tonight?
I got nothing.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.